Hello and welcome to Communication Connection. I'm Terry Likes. This is a program where we like to focus on the great things happening with students, faculty, and alumni affiliated with the Department of Communication. One of the goals as a college professor is to ensure that your students have a great experience during their 4 years in college and take the most of their initiatives. And I'm happy to welcome Hannah Vandy to the program. Hannah certainly epitomizes one who made the most of all of her opportunities during her time here at Hale State. Hannah, thanks for joining us and welcome.
Thank you for.
Hannah, tell us a little bit about, if we go back, before we get to all of your accomplishments, let's go back a few years and tell us what first brought you to Mississippi State in the first place.
So what brought me to MSU in the first place was I wanted to get my gen eds out of the way. So like, your English, your math, and things like that. And what happened was I thought about going to school near Nashville in music business. And then I found the communications department in broadcasting. And my mom worked at State, so it was super easy to stay here and get my gen eds out of the way. And I ended up staying because I loved the broadcasting department.
Well, you mentioned broadcasting, so you were a double major in broadcast and public relations, but I guess your first love, you could say, really focused on the media, and you were able to get involved quite quickly with WMSV, the campus radio station. Tell us about that experience and what I think was your first love dealing with radio.
Yeah, so like I said, I wanted to go to school for music business or something related. I've been singing since I was about 10 years old professionally, since I was maybe 12. I've always been in some sort of music lessons of some sort my whole life. And the passion that I have for music is what led me to radio broadcasting specifically. And I remember I went to Anthony Craven multiple times before I even got the opportunity. And I just put myself there. I walked in and I was like, hey, I would love a spot. And so after a while, I was able to actually pitch a music interview show called Stark Vegas Spotlight. And I did that until I was actually able to get into actually being an on-air talent for WMSV.
Well, and I remember driving around town and I could hear you on the radio frequently. So I know a lot of the audience members remember listening to you. And let's talk a little bit about, if we advance radio a little bit, right before the pandemic, you had an internship at a Columbus radio station. And I know that part of that was cut short, but you certainly know the value of internships, don't you?
I do, and actually the internship was the summer of 2019, and then I went part-time with Cumulus Media in Columbus, and up until the pandemic, I worked for them part-time, and it may have been summer of 2018, because I worked with them, I think, almost a year and a half, actually, so whatever the math is there. But yes, internships are extremely wonderful because working at Cumulus Media gave me a vital piece of information on the sales aspect that WMSV wasn't quite able to offer me.
Well, and I know I used to hear you on the air doing some public service announcements involving the Humane Society, and you really have a passion for working with animals, don't you?
I really do. And when I started at Cumulus once I really went part-time, I was able to say, hey, could we possibly do a PSA for OCHS, Octopaw County Humane Society? And my boss at the time, he was like, sure, you produce it, you update the website. And so that's what I did. I wrote about it. I got an email every week from OCHS about Pets of the Week. And so that's what gave me the 2 animals to speak about every week, and I loved putting those together.
Hannah, all of these experiences led you and your colleagues to be a part of creating a new student organization on campus, part of the Broadcast Education Association, and it's a student media club. And part of those activities meant you were able to compete in 3 different competitions over the last year and a half, placing in all 3. Congratulations. But I know that's been a great experience for you and something you could also add to your resume and your media portfolio.
Yes, it was exciting to be a part of all three of them. The first one was last spring semester of 2020, right before the pandemic really hit. And so that was super exciting. That was the first challenge that we did with BEA. And then we did the fall 2020 BEA film challenge, and we actually took first place the first time we competed. And then this last spring, or spring of 2021, we competed in the audio challenge again, and we were able to place, or we got, I can't remember what the title of it, but we got one of the name awards.
An award of excellence, and you're seeing some of the awards that you've won. You've won a multitude of awards while you were in school, a Southeast Journalism Conference, National Broadcasting Society. You know, we try to tell people keep your resume to one page, but I know with you it's become a challenge because of all of these awards that you've been able to rack up. And you mentioned, of course, radio. You mentioned a passion for singing. Tell us a little bit about that career in singing that you've been nurturing now for many years.
So, well, it's so long that it's really hard to just kind of sum it up other than just saying it's been a wonderful career. Once I got to college, I kind of put it on the back burner so I could focus on my broadcasting career because it's a little bit different than the music business career that I've had for so long. But growing up, being able to do everything that I did in music business and being a singer, that is what really helped guide me in my broadcasting career.
Well, and we're seeing some photos of you. I know you've been to Nashville. There are music videos that people can find online to witness your singing career. And I guess it was part of this passion for singing that led you to audition for Mamma Mia, a theater production that was held in McComas Theater, again, right before the pandemic. It was certainly fun seeing you on stage and a member of that cast. It had to be a lot of fun for you.
It absolutely was. I actually have a good friend of mine, and what he did was so I remember the day of auditions, I was like, I'm not a good actor. I don't have, a lot of experience acting. I have the experience dancing and singing, but acting, I was a little kind of, intimidated by it. And he was like, just go. You never know what can happen. And so the day of, I was like, I don't have a monologue. So I kind of memorized something as quickly as possible. And I took my guitar in and I sang for my audition. And I actually made one of the ensemble girls. And I absolutely love the experience. I miss dancing from high school. So I really, really enjoyed being a part of Mamma Mia.
But your love of the media during your senior year enabled you to land a job at WCBI, the local CBS television affiliate. You were working behind the scenes. I know it was a great experience. It was an awful lot of work, too, a brutal schedule as you had to get up early in the morning, and you were working, I believe, 35 hours a week, sometimes more. And the question was then, how would you finish school? Because the ultimate goal is to graduate, which you did. I'm happy to say I was able to see you walk across the line in Humphrey Coliseum recently. But it meant that you had to switch and take 12 hours online while juggling a nearly full-time work schedule. But it was also part of building that portfolio, wasn't it?
It really was. And it was definitely really brutal, but I've always loved online classes because I could really choose my own schedule and set my own schedule and be able to pursue those experiences outside of class, and why my internships worked so well and working part-time with WMSB and Cumulus Media. And so really working at WCBI just helped me expand my resume and my portfolio and also my experience because I want to be a professor in the future.
Well, graduation, as I mentioned, and you have a real passion for working in creative media. So now you've taken the experience from WCBI and moved into a new experience right here in Starkville. Tell us about the kind of work you're doing. I know it's always the goal of a student to have a job upon graduation, and you're one of the fortunate few to actually say you have that. You could walk right out the door and right into a job. Congratulations. But tell us about this new experience that you have.
Yes, thank you so much. I am so fortunate to have found it when I did and heard about it when I did. And Broadcast Media Group is absolutely wonderful. They're like a family at this point, and so it's absolutely wonderful to get to work with everyone at BMG. And one of the things that we do is we go out to clients and create commercials. We film, interview, and try to really help promote their brand. You know, whatever company, whatever kind of company, nonprofit, not for profit, whatever it may be, we try to get the message for them out in a video format. And sometimes we just, you know, some of our clients just want us to film something and then they edit it on their own. But for the most part, we film and edit everything and produce it.
Well, again, congratulations. It sounds wonderful, and you wouldn't be there if you hadn't taken all of these initiatives. Now, looking at short and long-term goals, you've kind of alluded to this, but one of the things you'd like to do is to go to graduate school eventually and maybe teach part-time or full-time at a university, such as maybe here at Mississippi State University. And I know that selfishly, we are starting in communication a graduate program in the coming year. Maybe you'll be one of our first students, but tell us about these goals. What is driving that passion for maybe having a career in teaching?
So one of the things that I learned in music, as I've had my career in music, is usually there's some kind of, or like I've done pageants before, usually there is a social issue that is the foundation that you want to talk about. And so, or you want to bring awareness to, whatever that may be. And one of the things that I have loved doing is finding issues and bringing awareness to them, especially bullying, because I was bullied in high school and I ended up switching schools. And I love animals, so I love talking about animals too, of course. That's why I've done so much, so many PSAs for animals. And that is what I love learning, and I love educating. So, and I love, I guess, the research aspect to also grad school, which is why I want to go to grad school and hopefully at MSU and also work there, because that's kind of the dream. And I get to stay near family, stay in my hometown. So I'm really excited, and that's the dream, to actually work at State.
Well, Hannah, we thank you so much for joining us here on the program. I know I speak for many faculty and those on campus who are very proud of you, and we are now welcome you to the Alumni Club. So thank you so very much for joining us here on Communication, and thank to all of you for watching. Please join us next time.